The life of a celebrity is usually well documented, and if you look hard enough, you can find out an awful lot about them. However, there are some things that they would rather keep under the rug. While most of these things are just minor controversies, other times it's much more than that. Today we'll be looking at the celebrities that have killed in the past that you might not have known about, whether it's accidental, self-defense, or for a much more sinister reason. So here are 7 celebrities that have killed people. Number 1 is Faye DeWitt. Faye DeWitt is an American actress that was born in 1934. She has a reasonably impressive list of credits under her name that include projects such as Kiki's Delivery Service, Red Dead Redemption, and the recently released horror film Circle. However, just as she was beginning to get a consistent amount of roles in her career in 1965, she was dealing with quite a few personal issues. She was going through a divorce with a playwright and comedy writer known as Ray Allen, and their relationship was obviously quite unpleasant as it ended with DeWitt stabbing Allen to death with a letter opener. However, a day later the charges were dropped as it was deemed to be an act of self-defense. It was concluded that Allen had been drinking and broke into Faye's house, where he proceeded to bang her head off a table several times. It was at this point that Faye, fearing for her life, stabbed him.
2. Don King. Don King is an American boxing promoter born in 1931, who's known for promoting some of the biggest boxing bouts of all time. He's worked with the likes of Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, and Mike Tyson. Unlike most of the entries on this list, King has actually been involved in 2 controversial incidents where he killed somebody, and they are 13 years apart. The first incident happened in 1954 when he owned an illegal gambling house in Cleveland. He supposedly saw a man known as Hillary Brown stealing from his business. He responded by shooting him in the back and killing him. It was deemed a justifiable homicide and King spent no time in prison for it. However, King's controversies didn't end there, and his second murder was considered to be much more disturbing. In 1967, King was owed $600 by one of his employees, Sam Garrett. The altercation developed to the extent that King stomped Garrett to death. While some people in America can be sentenced to life in prison for such a crime, King was charged with second-degree murder and only spent less than 4 years in prison for it. What makes this event even more controversial is that in 1983, a number of influential celebrities wrote to the governor of Ohio, Jim Rhodes, and asked for Don King to be pardoned. Surprisingly, the governor did pardon King, and the crime is no longer on his record.
Number 3 is Phil Spector. Phil Spector is an American record producer who is widely known as one of the most important and influential people in pop music. He produced and wrote songs for legends such as Leonard Cohen, the Ramones, and John Lennon. However, while he was arguably the most popular music producer of the 20th century, the 21st century was not the same. In fact, he spent most of it in prison as he was convicted of murder in February 2003. Actress Lana Clarkson was at Spector's house when his driver heard a gunshot come from inside the building. He called the police and Spector was taken to prison. He went on to tell Esquire magazine that the death was accidental and that she, quote, kissed the gun. While Spector continued to try and sell the accidental story, it became unlikely that that actually happened as he reportedly pulled a gun on 4 different women when they turned him down. It seems like the 5th time this happened, Spector went all the way. He was charged with second-degree murder and was given 19 years to life in prison. He is currently 77 years old and won't be eligible for parole until he is 88 years of age.
4. Michael Brea. Unlike the other entries on this list, Michael Brea wasn't actually a celebrity. Instead, he was an up-and-coming actor who was deemed as having a lot of potential until an incident not only stopped his career, but made him an infamous character to the public. He was actually featured in an episode of the hit show Ugly Betty and was on his way to having a successful career until 2010, when he killed his mother. It was reported by his neighbors that he began chanting and rambling, and when police entered the apartment, they found Brea's mother decapitated and stabbed several times with a samurai sword. Michael Brea claimed that his mother had been possessed and that he had to get the demon out of her by killing her. He was arrested and later charged with second-degree murder.
Number 5 is Laura Bush. Laura Bush is the spouse of former US President George W. Bush, making her the First Lady between the years of 2001 to 2009. The incident in question comes much earlier in life, however. 14 years before she even met her husband-to-be. In early November 1963, Bush ran a stop sign and ended up colliding with another vehicle. The car belonged to Michael Douglas, someone who Bush actually knew very well and was rumored to be dating. However, she went on to say that they were just very close friends. Unfortunately, Douglas did not survive the collision. In Bush's memoir, Spoken from the Heart, the incident is detailed thoroughly, and Bush describes her feeling towards the event as a guilt I will carry for the rest of my life.
6. Vince Neil. Vince Neil is best known for being the lead vocalist of one of the best-selling bands of all time, Motley Crue. While Neil and his band have enjoyed an incredible amount of success, he became quite a controversial figure in the music world, mostly because of an incident that occurred in 1984 when Finnish drummer Nicholas Stingley and Neil decided to go to a nearby liquor store. Neil had been partying for quite a few hours and was drunk, so inevitably he crashed into another vehicle. The 2 passengers in the other car suffered brain damage because of the incident, and Nicholas Stingley was killed. Neil was only sentenced to 30 days in jail, but had to pay $2.6 million to the victims and serve 200 hours of community service, along with receiving 5 years probation. Even though the prison sentence was deemed quite short, it became even shorter when Neil was let out only after 15 days for good behavior. Motley Crue went on to dedicate their 3rd studio album, Theater of Pain, to Dingley.
Number 7 is Johnny Lewis. Johnny Lewis is a successful actor who had roles in popular projects such as Sons of Anarchy, Underclassmen, and Drake and Josh. While Lewis was on the verge of becoming an A-list celebrity in Hollywood, his career was sadly cut short when, in 2012, Lewis and his landlady, Catherine Davis, were found dead at Davis's home. It was later established that Lewis had broken into Davis's house and killed her, along with her pet cat. He then reportedly fell off Davis's roof. While the idea that Lewis committed suicide was considered, it was later ruled that his death was accidental. While Lewis had a history of drug abuse, the autopsy later reported that he did not have any traces of drugs or alcohol in his system. However, the drugs that he did take may have had a negative effect on his mental well-being, which may have led him to do this. Regardless, friends, co-workers, and family were shocked. They described Lewis as a talented guy who had violent spurts. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button. I want to say a big thanks to Margbot for helping me out with this video. She does scary story narrations over on her channel, along with an interview series where she actually interviews people from the horror community. She's interviewed myself and loads of other people that you guys would know, so don't forget to go check her out. I'm sorry that I've been away for so long. I've had some technical issues and a long list of other things, but I am going to try and be more consistent in the future, so thanks for being patient with me. But like I said, that's all for now. As always, until next time.